Regular school meeting of Munhall Council, Wednesday, April 15, 2015, order at 7:01 p.m. We, at 6:30, council met in executive session to discuss litigation. No determinations or actions have been taken at this time, but we did talk about litigation. So with that, I'd like to take the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Cannon, would you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does anyone have any preliminary announcements from council? If not, we'll move on to the roll call. Becky, would you take the roll, please?
Councilman Bell.
Here.
Councilman Shields.
Here.
Councilman Bodian.
Here.
Councilman Brennan.
Here.
Councilman Falk.
Here.
Councilman Engel.
He's excused.
President Lloyd.
Present. Okay, we have at least one person, and maybe more. We may make an exception this evening for persons requesting to speak to council. And we also have a presentation from the scouts. Do you want to go ahead and do that now, or is there another plan?
No, all we're here for is, the boys are here for their citizenship in the community merit badge. They have to sit in on a council meeting or school board meeting and observe, and then they have to do a little write-up on what they saw.
Well, we're glad that they're putting in their time for their citizenship badge. Welcome, guys. Okay. Yes,
I
Joe?
was looking over the agenda. I see we're at number 4 that we're exonerating the tax collector. Did we ever find that audit? That's the audit that we were supposed to get from
Mr. Domestic, I,
the Massey?
no,
Yes.
we haven't seen it yet,
No, but we paid for it. It's already, you know,
We just
paid
paid
for.
for it.
Yeah, I know we paid for it. That's why I figured we had it. We don't have it though.
I did request a copy from it, but I didn't receive it.
Because I was in your office, I gave you the number, you got a hold of
I haven't
them,
heard anything since then.
and there's nothing.
My understanding from Mr. Tomasic was that the audit was inconclusive, and it didn't show that there were any inconsistencies or problems with the tax office. That was the gist of what they found. I'd like to see it again myself.
Yeah, that was, because I mean, back in November of 2013, I guess it was, November, December-ish, I had asked him, you know, and he told me, hey, everything was great, you know, it was balanced to the penny. That's when he had his misfortune of it.
And that was for 2012.
Yes, yes, that was the one that was all kind of things being thrown around, that, you know, the tax collector wasn't doing this, wasn't doing that right. And that's why we had this audit.
I'll look into it again, but you don't have.
I would appreciate that.
I have a question too on section 5 and section 6 of our agenda item.
Yes, Mr. Brennan?
Were we to see any of this projected cost from, or what they intend to do? Or would we just read this and approve it?
What's that, would be the motion number 5?
And 5 and 6.
That was discussed at the workshop meeting, and I have sent out to everybody the copies. Here, you can have my copies. Of course.
Okay. What do they plan on doing for $10,500? My question.
You don't know the specifications, right?
This has to do with volunteer fire.
Do you know what the specifications are?
That's what you want.
Have you read them?
Bob, do you want to address that?
Has anyone read them?
A bit from Baker's is an actual soft coat with the waterproofing on the walls. But,
The inside walls, the outside
the
walls?
inside wall, basically truck bed. Now, Baker's does nothing else but the waterproofing. So you don't tear anything out, you don't put nothing back together.
They're installing a sump pump system around the perimeter of the right side wall.
French drain, sub pump, that's all we don't rehab.
Because they were the ones who did the other part, under the police station, they were the ones who did all the waterproofing there.
Yeah, we didn't do chlorine.
Right, I hear that's a very good job.
Thirdly, I'd like to ask about number 7, motion number 7, to approve 2 police cars. I know we spoke about this at the last meeting. My feeling on this is 1 police car might be better than 2. We have, very close budget issues going on. Do we really need at least 2 vehicles? We could save $30,000, $35,000 by leasing 1 new vehicle. I also don't see anything here about the backhoe that we talked about last week as well. Is that in here at all?
Not yet, no, because we want to get an estimate of what it's gonna cost to repair as opposed to buying a new one. We don't have those numbers yet. Mr. Bison tells me we could probably buy another 4 or 5 months out of our backhoe now.
Okay.
That's why it's not on there now.
Well, my question is the council president, can we see a actual written proposal, what was done and looked at on our backhoe that we paid $300 an hour to have someone look at? And what we were told last week was, well, there could be something wrong with the rear end maybe, so,
Or the transmission.
or the transmission. So we need some documentation.
Well, that's why they've gone to get a full-blown estimate of repair.
Well, that's what I'm
Is that
asking.
your request?
That's what I'm asking
Well,
for.
that's what's coming forth, that's why it's
Good.
not on the agenda.
Very good, very good.
And we also delayed it because we didn't think we needed to order this until,
I
say,
think this
July.
should be tabled, this whole issue here of 10,500 and 13,382. We don't have enough time to look at all this stuff.
You can put that motion on the floor when we get to it.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Was that put out for a bid? Just curiosity.
It,
I know it's under the amount
it's under the threshold now. I asked Public Works to talk to some local people, give us an estimate, because the, have a lot of leakage in the fire department.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And there's some interior damage and there's mold, so, Mr. Vicey was able to get at least 2 different types.
Now, they're gonna do the mold, eradication, I guess it's called, they're gonna get all the mold out and everything.
Baker doesn't do that.
No,
Paper on
no.
it, that was awesome.
We have talked about the police cars, buying 2 instead of 1. I mean,
When we get to that motion, I'll ask Pat for his explanation on why he thinks we need the 2 cars and the justification, and we'll go from there. When we get to that motion, all right, Rick? Okay, Rick?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
John, my paper, Mr.
Yes, you may.
If there are no more announcements on that, I would like to move to people that wanted to address the council. We have Mario, parking meter technology.
He's here, he's not here.
Jim's there.
There he is. No.
Jeremy?
Hi, I'm Jeremy Moore, I'm with a company called Meterfeeder. I believe I have spoken with a few of you over the past couple of weeks, and you guys invited us to come, or we had asked if we were able to come to speak to you guys. I have some handouts here if anyone would like a little bit of, taking time down. So the short and simple of it is we are a technology company that provides a smartphone app for paying for parking in lieu of quarters or in lieu of paying for a meter. We are a GPS-based technology, so if you're a user, if you're a driver, you pull into a parking space, you open up our application, we geolocate you and say, oh, we know you're in Munhall, we know you're in an area where people pay for parking. The person puts in how much time they want, simply selecting 1, 2, 3, however many hours we want to put the limit at. They pay with a credit card that they've already logged in to our system with, and then we're able to track whether or not they paid using a partner application called Meter Reader that an enforcement officer can use to validate whether or not someone parked. So So if I'm an enforcement officer and I walk up and I see the red expired on the meter, they pull out their enforcement device, they can have our app right on there, they either will type in the license plate and we'll tell them whether or not they paid, what time they paid, when they're going to expire. And that's pretty much the gist of it. It's a pretty simple technology.
We might meeting with Mario on Monday.
You are meeting with Mario, so we can go into the nitty-gritty details with you of some of the things you might be more concerned about.
Is that the only way to operate it?
Well, that was the question I had. I thought that, you can do it on street if there was kiosks or something.
We don't provide hardware, so there's no physical hardware that we implement. We actually kind of don't like the idea of hardware, so we sort of look past that because we notice more and more the movement is to mobile technology anyway.
What if somebody doesn't have a smartphone?
They can simply pay with the existing meters. We don't advocate taking out the existing meters. We advocate leaving them in there and using our.
How do you interface with the police department to know if somebody's paid or not paid that's in a space?
So we have a partner application called Meter Reader that the enforcement officer would be able to use. It's web-based or it's an app. You can offer you the service and then they would type in the actual license plate and check to see whether they paid via that interface.
The only problem I see with that is that mechanical meter is not gonna register whether or not they're paid.
Correct.
So it's gonna say expired, and they're gonna give a ticket to somebody, and that person's gonna say, well, the three people behind me, they had expired meters too, and they didn't get a ticket, but they probably paid maybe through the app.
Yes.
So
So there's a couple ways we can tackle that problem. One, there's just the general advertising of it. So we have stickers that we advocate putting on each one of the meters that say meter feeder is accepted here. So it lets people know that the mobile technology is available. We even have street signs that we can hang up if someone wants to see that. So we also have small cards that an enforcement officer can put in when you initially roll this out to maybe a vehicle that did pay for it, and you could put the card on the vehicle that said paid with meter feeder, something to acknowledge that this is why they didn't get a ticket.
What's the cost? There's no cost to borough anything, right?
There's no cost to the borough. We comp the first $5,000 worth of marketing, so that would include the signs, that would include the stickers, that would include anything like that for advertising this out along the borough.
is there a minimum number of spaces that you need?
No, there's no minimum for this. So,
Where are some locations that you're currently doing this at?
so we're currently live and active in Dormont. We're talking to Bellevue, Avalon, the city of Erie, Homestead. We're on their agenda to be voted on next council meeting. Brentwood, Braddock, quite a few of the local areas.
Is there a notification from the app when somebody's time runs out, or it's not a tracker? I mean, it's not like you would send a notification that this guy's time's up and that guy's time's up.
So we do send it to the user themselves, and if that's something you guys were interested in, if you thought that would help you as an enforcement agency, I mean, I'm sure we can consider saying this license plate's time is going to be up and sending that to the enforcer. The problem is we can't tell you exactly what space that would be in.
Fair enough.
So we could start small,
You could start small.
say 10 to 15, and then expand on that, 10 to 15 is all we have. I know, that's what I'm saying, I know that's all we have
Yeah.
down here.
So
There's
we also-
not on Main Street.
We also handle permit parking, if that was something that you wanted to use that with, in lieu of having people put them in. We also have a feature which we call pop-up parking, which, because we're GPS based, if there was ever events or areas that you wanted to say, we want this to be reserved parking via this app only, you could block off a couple of spaces, put this up and say, you can only park here if you pay via this app.
Okay, well, you're gonna meet with Bob then?
Yes.
In the near future, and we'll get a full report on that, and it's viable for us.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
for your time.
Before we move into public comment on agenda items, I am gonna open the floor because an issue has come up this week. And we have Kate Bulger here, who owns a business, fairly new business on 8th Avenue, and she wanted to speak about an issue that she's been presented with. So Kate, could you come to the mic and state your name and your home address and your business address?
Good evening, my name is Kay Bollinger. I live in Munhall Gardens, my home address is 252 West Ward Avenue, Munhall. I was informed on yesterday by Channel 4 news representative that around the corner there's a facility that was supposed to be a child care facility, but it's actually a center for pedophiles. And I actually have a center that's on 8th Avenue, and I'm a bit concerned as far as the safety of our children, the parents as well, as far as having them so close to the business. And we weren't informed that that's actually what it was. So we're a bit concerned about that building being there.
Okay, I'd like to address this, and for everybody that's interested and in attendance, this issue first came to my attention in 2008, as well as Computer Gurus brought the issue up, and other businesses along 8th Avenue where my business is located, you know, down the street from yours. And I had Mr. Cannon look up the permit for that facility at that time, because there were other issues. There were plumbing and health department issues that were being looked into. There was a broken backup sewer line. And so there was a lot of things going on in relationship to that facility. I had Mr. Cannon pull the permit, and at that time, he said it's listed as a daycare. The owners of that center morphed that somehow into a adult daycare, but they never asked for a new permit. And then they morphed it into its transitional housing. And then it was a halfway house. All of this done without any change or request to change that original permit, I think from 2002. And then when we, you know, in 2005, again, the permit was for daycare. So the council, Munhall Council at that time, we asked that they, for a cease and desist order, and said that their permit was improper for the business that they were running there. Subsequently, they said they would apply, and they did apply for a permit for transitional housing. That's a conditional use in what is an R1 district. They requested a hearing by the Munhall Zoning Hearing Board. There was a hearing held here that spring of 2008. I don't know the exact date. And there was testimony. All of that testimony was recorded by a court reporter, and that is public record, isn't it, Counselor?
It is.
So that testimony is out there. I felt at that time, and the Zoning Hearing Board recommended to Borough Council that we vote against approving a variance to have a halfway house and transitional housing. However, the owners of the Cleft of the Rock Ministries, and they had the help of the ACLU attorney Vic Walzak. They sued the Borough of Munhall, or asked us, threatened to sue us in so many words, and say we think you ought to issue this permit pending a lawsuit. And I'm going to let Greg Vashevic, our solicitor, who handled that, state for the record, this isn't something that Munhall wanted to approve, but there was a court order that was issued that said, you're going to allow this. And I'm going to let him go into the detail of that. And whether we issue a permit or we didn't issue a permit, the court of Allegheny County said, you're going to allow this to happen here. So with that, Greg, you want to make?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lloyd. That is correct. The permit that was originally issued back in 2002, it was determined by our code enforcement officer that their use was non-compliant. And as Mr. Lloyd indicated, therefore, orders were issued by the code enforcement officer to cease and desist operations. At that point, they applied for a variance to the Munhall Borough Zoning Hearing Board. That's a separate body from this council that makes independent decisions, because their proposed use as a residence for outside individuals not permitted. And so what happened in that case, a full hearing was conducted by the zoning hearing board. The Munhall Borough zoning hearing board denied the request for a variance. As a result, the church, the Cleft of the Rock, filed an appeal to the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. They were able to secure free counsel, which is irrelevant, and they also then got the ACLU interested because they identified themselves as a church, and they said they operate a program known as the Steadfast Outreach Program in furtherance of the exercise of religious beliefs. And we are familiar with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of Pennsylvania, and there are many federal court cases and state court cases that strictly protect that right. And because that's how they were operating, and their position was in court on appeal from this, is that we are housing individuals in a transitional basis as part of our religious program. The court cases supported it, and essentially the judge said it looks like they have the right to do that, and so ultimately an order was entered by the court. It was a consent order of all parties, the zoning hearing board, and also the borough got involved. I was involved as well, that allowed them to operate. And I have the court order, which you're entitled to see. It's back from 2008. And what it says is their use that's been permitted now, and this court order supersedes any kind of permit that the borough would ever issue. This is the use that they are permitted. And it says that the subject property may be used as a transitional dwelling, including being used to operate Steadfast Outreach. The parties consent to allow Steadfast Outreach to maintain operations consistent with its current practices, including housing up to 12 program participants at a time, so long as Steadfast Outreach maintains a faith-based program as described in the second paragraph of this order, which is several pages. So that is the use that's permitted. Not a house for pedophiles, as someone had described, and so forth. Now, this doesn't mean that sex offenders don't have a right necessarily to locate there. There's Megan's Law, we're familiar with that. There are notices that have to be sent to our police chief and our police department, and there's certain requirements they still have to comply with under Megan's Law and state law in terms of distances from various organizations. But nonetheless, this is the right that they have. So they hold themselves out as a church, they have a faith-based program, and those uses, as I said, are strictly guarded here and in every state and in this country, and that's why this permission was granted. So it's transitional housing up to 12 people, which possibly could include someone who's registered on the Megan's list.
So are there anyone monitoring the capacity that they actually hold over there? Because I've seen more than 12 people at one time. I mean, they hang out there. And I'm concerned more so as a parent, not as a business owner. My child, this is a school, no bus zone. And so I'm very limited to the fact that my child has to walk up that street and right across the pedophiles. So who's to say that, you know, they lock this place up during the day and they're out praying amongst the community. And, you know, we pay taxes and we feel as though, as a parent, our children should be bused. My child, if she has to walk, I live in Munhall Gardens, that's up near Whitaker Way. If she has to walk, that's a 30-minute walk. And I feel like, you know, whatever happened to the well-being of the children, that's what my concern is. And, you know, I look at budgets going up for payroll and things like that, but what about the children? It seems like the children are being swept up under the rugs.
Well, we understand your concerns, and the Megan's Law website is a public website, and I think everyone here, if you haven't seen it, you look at it, you might be quite startled about how many registered sex offenders live in every community, not only here in Munhall and all the surrounding communities. It's quite surprising to see it. So whether or not they're at the Cleft of the Rock Ministries housed as transitional residents, they could be in other residential areas, and they're permitted to live there as well. So the state allows them, as long as they register, to live in residential areas. Now, this is not a residential area, but they have that permission for that limited residential use. So to answer your first question, are we inquiring? There could be other people there, by the way, that aren't using it as a residence, that could be participating in their religious activities and faith-based operations. So that could lead to a greater number of people outside of the structure. but we have just recently received information that there may be an issue with the number of residents, and there is a limit based on this court order that they have to abide by. So I can tell you that we'll make some inquiries. This has just come to our attention, and look in, and just to make sure that they are compliant with this use as established by this court order. We can't do that.
Hey, we looked into this, yeah. Go ahead,
Just
sir.
real quick on the subject, Rich. Chief, are they registering, are they complying with the law? Are they registering the the Megan's Law offenders?
We get a notice from PSP when someone moves in or out of any facility in our
Okay.
county.
So
So
they
it's
don't,
private residence,
Oh,
a
yeah.
structure like that, we do get notification from the state police.
they
Our
aren't
Megan's Law
complying.
section, yes. As far
I'm
as I
sorry,
know,
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
No, that's right, Joe.
what they send us is what we get.
Yeah.
We did get notice of a violent sexual offender last week from the Munhall Police Department. They distributed that to the neighborhood.
Occasionally, sometimes we have to do a public notification. Last week was one of those. We had to go out and knock doors in the neighborhood because this certain person did meet that criteria. That happens once or twice a year where we have to do that. It happened last week.
Right, and that's what brought this, and you got a notification, my office got a notification. It kind of brought this to the forefront because the Channel 4 news story from about 6 weeks ago where somebody stole a car, happened to be a resident, and the news story said that the resident was living in a program for sexual offenders in Munhall, Pennsylvania, and as far as I knew, there never was such a program in Munhall, Pennsylvania, not to our knowledge. And, the testimony, again, it's on the record, and we can get that record for you, was that what they were seeking was a program for nonviolent offenders. And how this got from nonviolent offenders to pedophiles and rapists just doesn't make any sense. And I spoke to Rich Fitzgerald today, and I asked him that they, look into who's funding this and why they're sending them to a neighborhood that is obviously viable and recovering, and this isn't the type of occupancy that's gonna help that neighborhood continue to improve and recover. And he said he was unaware that this was going on, and he would look into it. And I believe Rich, and I believe that, if the county has anything to do with sending those inmates here, I'd like to see that be stopped, and I think they'll work with us on that. So that's where we go from here.
Mr. President,
Yes,
I had a conversation with Senator Costa a month and a half ago regarding the same situation. The big fire meeting that was held down Homestead after the fire. A lot of Homestead residents brought this up because apparently in the daytime they're flooding into their town.
they are.
And
They go
they
to eat.
had a lot of concerns. I spoke with Senator Costa there. I spoke with the judge more than a year ago, informed him that this was not something that was ever approved by Munhall, was never zoned for that, was never licensed for that. He claims he was unaware of that, and that he's never done anything about it. So,
One thing we could do is send a copy of this order to the county, and I'm not sure what entity is funding the housing of these registered sex offenders. Okay. We can make everyone aware that this is a limited use as a residential facility, and the primary focus, the primary permission for this is that these individuals that are housed there are participating in these religious activities and are part of this church and part of the services. So technically, if you have someone who is a registered sexual offender and staying there and has nothing to do with the church, then that wouldn't be a permitted use. Now, that's not so easy to investigate and find out, but that would be a possible violation.
Yeah, they lock them out during the day, so they have plenty of time to walk our streets
Right.
and affect our community.
Well, laying on the sidewalk and loitering all day hardly seems like a good rehab program.
Right, that's not rehabilitation.
You said they locked them out during the day?
They lock them out. I say, let's put them in a program, or take them to a farm where they can rebuild out there. Like, we have many daycares on 8th Avenue, And I'm just not speaking for my daycare, but there's about 8 of us.
So once they're out in the morning, they're not allowed back into the evening.
No, yeah, they lock them
Around
out.
dinner time from what we're
Dinner
told.
time, so they go to Rainbow Kitchen.
No matter what the weather is.
No matter what the weather is.
How do we know if there's religious services actually going on?
Exactly.
Let me just read you one more thing from the order, and this is the introductory language, and here's what it says. And I'm quoting, "The individuals in the program live in the church, attend religious services, and participate in daily Bible studies." So, in order to qualify under this order, they should be participating in those activities. If they're not, and it's just a ruse, then there's a possible violation of this order.
Chief, are all the residents there, or most of them, are they coming out of Allegheny County Jail and being sent there for some type of rehab?
I believe they are.
They all come from ACJ and
They're
do
recently released.
a rehab type program.
Yes.
And they're in those daytimes rehab.
And, right, and they're out on the streets.
We were called down there about a month ago. We were asked to meet probation officer there. So the person who they were checking on had to be on probation. I would say most of the people are on probation or parole.
Those probation doesn't start till you get out of the ACJ.
Okay, well, anyway, we've addressed it, Kay. We will continue to be diligent and do everything we can to help the safety of the community, again, without abridging their rights or violating the court order. But just as we don't violate the order, we're gonna see to it that they don't violate the order as well.
Thank you, we certainly appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. Okay, we will move on to public comment on agenda items only. Anybody want to comment on agenda items? We had heard Mr. Brennan's comments. Donna?
Motion 2. How many employees do we have with CDL license?
4 or 5, Bob?
And this is only gonna be for employees with CDL licenses?
By law, we have to have a ban on drug and alcohol. Right now, for CDL, that will be expanded once we adopt an employee handbook.
Okay,
Right now, by law, CDL.
okay. Motion 4, what is the amount that we're exonerating the tax collector for?
Oh, Donna gave me that the other day, it was like, I think I may have it back, $342,000 or 400 and some dollars.
349.
What was it?
349.
349,000. Those are unpaid 2015 bills. I'm sorry.
Motion 8. Is the borough paying $10 an hour and, government academy paying $10 an hour? Are we paying $5 an hour and they're paying $5 an hour?
We're paying $5 an hour, we will be reimbursed, we're paying $10 an hour, we will be reimbursed $5 at the end of the program.
Okay, and,
Maximum of 480 hours.
and what will they be doing?
To develop a 5-year capital improvement plan for us.
Will they be doing anything else? Helping out in any other department?
No, that's a big plan enough. That's our fleet, our roads, our physical plan. To develop a 5-year capital plan, which means what needs to be done by when and how much is it gonna cost us.
Okay, motion 8. How many, photo shoots will we be doing?
It's not.
9.
9? And what about the cost to maintain the, website? Will this be under that also?
No, this is separate on top of that. We're looking at photo shoots for the police department, the fire department, public works, school crossing guards, administration, as well as different community shops. 2 things.
With motion 10 and 11 being paid, do we know what our fund balance will be?
This is my report. We have 2 bank accounts in Citizens as of the end of March. We have better than 1.6 million. In our Citizens, General account, 303,000. And then we have 23,000 in another account, and 118,000 in a police account. So we have almost $3 million.
3 million? Okay, now, Mr. Lloyd said that the floor was open to the public. I just wondered, what was the outcome of the hearing last week with the former borough manager?
It wasn't,
Never went off.
they postponed it again.
Continuance to July 7th.
To July 7th? Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Always a pleasure. Anybody else on agenda items? If not, we'll move into the regular business of the meeting. Reports from borough officials. I understand that the mayor is recuperating and getting better each day.
It's getting ornery every day. He wants to get out.
Continue to pray for Jane while the mayor recovers.
Hey, have you seen him?
I stopped over the other day, he was resting, I didn't see him, I spoke to him today, I spoke to him every day.
I'm gonna offer to bring
I
my.
seen him, I don't know, last week, he's, they took him out for a walk the other day, he's having trouble maintaining his balance, and the pain's getting less. And he's
I'm gonna call him tomorrow, see if he wants to go up to Park School on Friday to speak to the students.
he doesn't have his balance, I don't know.
Probably not good enough. I told him I let him know, I called him at Easter, wishing him happy Easter, and call him back.
Yeah, there's about 8
See if
steps
he'll
he
go
has
to
to
Park
go
on
on.
Friday.
Okay, we'll move into, since the mayor's not here, did he give you anything to report, Pat?
No, so you want me to report back to him?
I missed the minutes, so we'll go ahead and, do we have any corrections, changes? We have a motion to approve the minutes of March 18th.
Yeah, don't get him.
I didn't get them in, they didn't come through, they were blocked. So we can table that, we'll table it till next month, since they didn't come through. And then we'll move into reports, the mayor's not here, solicitor.
Thank you. A number of agreements I reviewed, which are on your agenda tonight. I reviewed the intergovernmental cooperation agreement between West Homestead, Munhall, Steel Valley Cog. This is essentially a continuation of the agreement for the waterfront TIF district and the expenditure of monies from the TIF maintenance fund under the same conditions, terms, and procedures that are in place now, which are expected to continue through the end of the TIF, which is in 2018. So legally, that is fine, no concerns about that. The second agreement I reviewed is on the agenda as well. It's an agreement between Spectrum Medical Corporation of Munhall Borough. It's for the drug and alcohol program services. The agreement, surprisingly, is pretty decent from what I usually see from outside contractors when I find just so many problems. They actually have in their duties they set forth, and they provide warranties about their services, so that was all good and things that I typically look for in review of an agreement. And of course, you understand what they're going to do is administer the drug and alcohol program. They will perform all services necessary to guarantee compliance according to DOT regulations and any other regulations that are applicable. They warrant that the testing will be done accurately. They will comply and warrant that they will meet all state licensure requirements and any other department regulations. They will be paid according to the schedule that is attached. The one thing I wanted to point out, the one concern I have, this is probably standard in these agreements, but so you're aware, they limit their liability for errors. So in other words, if they make a mistake on reporting, say they may say, give us a false positive, and we take action based on that, their liability is limited to simply retesting and providing a corrected report. They're saying they're absolved of any liability, so that's a pretty significant limitation, so you need to be aware of that. So you understand what I'm saying? If they make a mistake, they're limiting their liability to just redoing the test and correcting the mistake. So you think of a worst case scenario, which is my job to try to think of, someone has a false positive, we take disciplinary action, and then it turns out that they didn't. If there's any economic consequences, it could lead to a lawsuit, and this is all probably a highly unlikely scenario, but that's my job, is to think of
Does it
things that
say
can go
what,
wrong.
yeah, does it say what type of testing they do? I mean, is it
It
just
does, it does.
Page
the
50.
urine or the electromass spectrogram?
It's a urine drug screen, a breath alcohol screen, and breath alcohol confirmation. And this is done randomly unannounced.
Right. Now, if you do come up positive, is there any follow-up on that? I know sometimes you can't come up false, you know, there are false positives on the urine test for certain reasons. The best way to check that is to do an electromass spectrogram. That breaks everything down, all the chemical compounds down. I was a safety man at the mill, so I understand that.
That's pretty good knowledge.
Yeah.
They do have on here confirmatory gas chromatography and mass
You got,
spectrometry.
that's what it is.
GSMS.
Yes.
Somebody's
That's-
familiar with
That's a
that.
good thing.
That's the good thing, yeah, that's the one that breaks all the chemicals down, you know,
Well, I mean,
that's the expensive one now.
being in the risk management business, I wouldn't sign this contract. I mean, if, they should have insurance for professional liability or errors and omissions, just like a physician.
Yeah, but what Russ just read there, that's why I asked the question, you know, about, you know, what it's limited to, you
I
know.
mean, we're the ones that are gonna.
We're the ones that are
that are
gonna
hurt
pay back,
somebody,
right.
damage them either by reputation, libel, or economically, and basically what the contract says is that's our problem. Even though it's their mistake, I don't know, that I would wanna assume that liability.
It says right in here that any claims arising out of errors or omissions in the services, and those errors or omissions which are caused by the company, their limit shall be to furnish a corrected report and to make all necessary corrections to the borough's files and records. That's it.
Yeah, if they do that EMS, that's,
But I don't know, yeah, this may be in all the contractors', form documents, I don't know, we have to look around. We have to have somebody, is the bottom
Yes.
line, but that's a pretty significant limit, that's my job, is to point those out. The other thing is, lastly, and you can think about this, is that they also require that they have the exclusive contract to provide this service once we sign this, so we have no right to contract for similar services with any other entity.
For how long?
And lastly, they make the contract for 1 year, and there's automatic renewal without 30 days notice. I never like contracts like that. You know, I always put in every contract, we should have the right to terminate upon 30 days notice. I always ask for that,
Right.
that's not in here.
It's mentioned as being random, so they just show up unannounced, how's it work?
Well, they do what we ask them to do. If we want them to administer a random program, they will. We'll tell them what services we want. Yeah, and if we ask, that's what
So
they'll
if it's
do.
random, they just show up, no one knows they're coming.
That's correct.
they're there waiting for you when you come into work, most
Yes.
of the time, yeah.
So that's my last concern. So that's food for thought about this, because I know you have it on your agenda. It's something recent. I want to point that out for you. Okay.
Did we look at the other companies that do this? This was the
No,
only one who-
this was recommended by Optimus Risk, who we retained to do our workers' comp safety committees, and we use them for other places and other municipalities, and we came out and recommended. So we can table it, and, you know, we can investigate other places.
See if the contracts are similar to that.
And my concern is we've been operating without doing the
Without
service.
doing it, right.
Okay, next agreement is with the COG for the Vector service. This is pretty standard. We pay the COG for the use of a Vector, and they also provide an operator. When they send a Vector with an operator, we're obligated to provide at least one laborer to work with them at all times, so you need to be aware of that. We pay according to the schedule. We're also required to provide all operating water, fuel, and oil that's needed for the use of the Vector. When the equipment is utilized for less than 1/2 day, they'll just charge us for an applicable hourly rate. Let's see, here, these are the concerning issues. And I know the COG is another governmental entity, our friend, but they have something here that concerns me, and that's my job to point it out. They are passing liability onto the borough for the Vector and its operator. Specifically, this agreement mandates that the borough agrees to protect, indemnify, and defend them from any and all liability damages claims caused by or arising out of the use or operation of the Vector. So, in other words, they send their Vector, they send their operator, if that guy runs somebody over, they're not responsible, we are, and we have to have insurance to cover that. So that's a red flag to me, just to let you know. Anytime someone shifts responsibility to us for the conduct of their employee, then that is a red flag for me. So that was my biggest concern in that agreement.
Is there a list of, the ones they're gonna do, or are they just gonna do them all?
No, they're going on
We have to,
8th Avenue to 12th Avenue, and then whatever I have on the list they do.
They're gonna do them all from 8th Avenue to 12th Avenue. Because there's some past 12th Avenue that are need done too.
We'll have a list of ones that are clogs that are going out to.
and they're the ones that usually do this, right?
No, this is the first time we
This
use
is the
it.
first time we're getting
So
it.
the cost is $875 a day compared to like Robinson Pipe, which is like $1,200 a day. Or, what's the other service we use? Hydrotech's about the same, so it's, it'd be $400 cheaper. It's a
But
good
our
one.
liabilities, are they the same with all those companies? I don't remember any of that. You know, somebody runs, one of their guys runs somebody over, it's our fault. Now, I don't think the other companies.
No, the private companies, it's on that.
But what the solicitor points out to you is common with the Council of Governments and have a number of municipalities that they would have shared equipment or equipment that is purchased by the COG and shared with the municipalities. It's common for the municipality to have that burden.
And Bob's right about that, and if you want to accept that burden, they also require in there, which we want to make sure that we have insurance to cover him. So we have to check with our liability carrier to make sure when this Vector comes in with its operator, even though it's not our employee, we have to be covered for his negligence.
How would you do that, Dan? We need
Lighter.
rider on our policy.
No, our policy would automatically, it would pick that up based on a contract that we've assumed. Well, actually, no, we'd have to inform the company that we're assuming that liability by endorsement.
And there could be extra charges on our insurance.
We certainly have to make sure that's in place before we would agree to these terms.
They would, some of the companies have an automatic endorsement on the policy that picks up that exposure. Others want to know. If there's a hold harmless with an agreement for indemnification, they want to know what kind of services are being provided. Typically, if there's a charge, it's nominal, like $150.
This would be for a maximum, I guess, 4 weeks out of the year. Not continuously, but 4 weeks.
Maybe the first thing is to check what the cost is to us to make sure we're covered under insurance. If we're covered under insurance, then we're protected anyway, even if it happens.
Yeah.
But it is definitely liability shifting, which COGS do like to do. I've seen this before. So,
Are we gonna go with that then? Covering our liability.
Well, I think not until we verify that we
Make
get
sure you
the
can
proper
insure
insurance in
it.
place, which we'll talk to Travelers. I don't think it will be an issue.
Okay, next, there's a lawsuit filed by Donald K. Duda. I sent a memo about this. I don't know if you've seen this. It's, the suit is against Munhall Borough and New Horizons Investment Group LLC. It pertains to 236 21st Avenue in Munhall. It's a complaint to quiet title. And essentially, the current record owner is Donald K. Duda, and he's the plaintiff who filed this suit. And what he is saying is that he's alleging that New Horizons, which was a corporation formed by his father, Donald Michael Duda, transferred the subject property to the son, Donald K. Duda, the plaintiff in this case, without his knowledge or consent. And since this transfer has happened, there have been multiple delinquent tax liens filed against the property and other encumbrances. So this man, the son, Donald K. Duda, is saying, this isn't my obligation, I shouldn't own it. So he's asking the court to revoke the whole transfer, to go back in time to when this was done in 2005, revoke that, and then deem that the property is still owned by New Horizons, or due to the amount of the tax liens, Munhall Borough. The lawyer's saying if Munhall Borough wants it, that's fine too. I guess, because my brother Nick has talked to the lawyer, Apparently, New Horizons investment either doesn't exist or doesn't want it either. I don't know if we want it. But so, okay, we don't. I don't know the condition of the property, but that's some of the inquiries we made. Dave, were you aware of this? Did you see this? Okay.
Has anyone been living in this
So-
place? I mean, it's been empty since 2005.
Is the property run down, dilapidated? So we don't wanna own it. So I just need to know how to respond to the lawyer. Obviously, we don't have any knowledge that I'm aware of that this wasn't a fraudulent transfer, but we don't want any ownership interest in the property. Is that correct? Okay. All right, then we'll carry on with that. That's all I have. Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
In regards to the, Matt Gallup trial, they just had a hearing and it was delayed again.
I just heard that tonight for the first time. I wasn't aware of that.
Should we have representation there at those hearings and request, hey, Munhall Borough does not accept this, we want it to go to trial, do we have any say-so in that?
We have a voice, but let's go back to the first question. We do have representation. The borough is the victim.
Right.
And as the victim in a criminal case, we are represented by the district attorney's office. That is our attorney. Only the district attorney's office can prosecute criminal charges. I can't do that. That's how our government works. So that is our counsel, that is our representation. We should have a voice, certainly, about what is happening, and certainly when a trial is going to occur, there should be communication with us in terms of identifying appropriate witnesses, organizing evidence that's
That
necessary
did
to
happen,
prosecute
that
the
did happen
charges.
the week
Okay.
before, yes.
Okay,
We
so
did have
there should be
meetings with
communication, but there is an assigned assistant district attorney
Now,
who's
you weren't involved in
prosecuting the
it,
case.
so-
Yeah, I wouldn't be involved
Now,
because
neither
I
would
don't
you,
have
Rick,
any
you weren't involved
authority.
in it.
But there is an assigned assistant district attorney, and I have his name in a different file. I could give that to you. You would have the right certainly to call him. You're a representative of the victim.
Right.
And speak to him and
Absolutely.
talk to him. That's how it
Well,
works.
Mr. Miller called me, who's the lead investigator on the case, and he told me that they had filed a motion for postponement. I expressed our displeasure at that and said we wanted to move forward, and he was pretty certain that the judge was gonna grant the request. And they expressed that they didn't want it to be postponed, but the judge ruled to postpone it.
The reason why I bring this up is because many of the residents are asking questions, what's going on? Is this being swept under the table? Should we be pressing issues there? You know, so I'm asking you that at council, so that can be put out there so people can understand that what's really going on.
Yeah, there's no sweeping under the rug. It's in the control of the office of the district attorney. And every indication I have, and wherever members of council have talked to the DA's office, they are moving forward. I don't think it's uncommon that there are multiple postponements in these criminal cases. I don't practice in that area, but some of my partners do, and I know it happens all the time for whatever reason, so it is a common occurrence.
Greg, I can tell you from 20 years' experience, it happens almost on every case.
Yeah.
There's a
Very
case,
seldom you go to
We were
trial.
informed the day before that
Yeah.
this was gonna
It is very
happen
typical.
by Detective Miller, and he said, yeah, you know, the judge was probably going to give him another postponement. This is the third one.
I had an officer in court this week from a case from 2008.
there's also a current case that's going on in court right now that, while Joe Rich and I were talking to the DA, Steve
We
Zappala,
talked to Zappala.
there's a case going on in court right now that's been postponed. It's a very high-profile case also, that's been from, 2000.
The former county councilman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's the one, it's just going now, and that's been like 5 years.
Very common occurrence.
It's happening now, but they're just postponing it, who knows if that will be.
They postponed it so long, half the people passed away.
Exactly. The victim.
We did, I mean, I know I did express my, displeasure about the continuance. And Detective Miller said, he'll pass that on to the judge, and that's as far as it'll go.
All right, we're gonna try to move on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Bob, you wanna thank you, Greg. Bob, you wanna give your report?
You don't have a handout, so anyhow, it was brief. Today was a deadline for residents to express interest to be considered for the 7 seats for the Park and Recreation Board. We did receive 8 letters of interest. I gave the list to Councilman Falls to take a look plan is for within the next 2 weeks to hold interviews with those members of council that are prepared to do that. Probably maybe 2 evenings within the next 2 weeks to interview those folks. Public Works collective bargaining agreement, we still have a handshake. I have the document on my desk, and we need to do some calculations for past pension obligations. That's the only thing I need to finish, to share with the Teamsters, and then to hopefully have an executed contract. My deadline for having all that done, not the executed contract, at least the numbers done and submitted to Teamsters, is next Friday. Westfield renovations, everyone's received the latest renderings from the landscape architect. Nothing's going to happen down there until the Allegheny County Conservation District issues a permit for erosion and sediment pollution control. That could take up to 90 days. Hopefully it won't take that long. I intend to make some phone calls along the gateway to see if that can be expedited. Road tour, would like for us at some point relatively soon to identify some Saturday morning for those on council that are interested to jump in a van and take a look at all our roads and streets. We do have a CASA report from Chester Engineers on the conditions. It's always nice to eyeball those things when we start putting our capital plan together, which roads we need to get done first. I think the last count there's 100 that need to be done first. Volunteer Fire Department number 3 facility, we put out for sale. Today was the deadline for submitting bids. We did get a grand total of 0 bids. I don't know what we're going to do from here, whether we do it again, but when the bleachers are going to be torn down, most of the bleachers will be torn down. We have a lot of things in there that we store. So until such time as that property is sold or turned over, we need to use that facility to put in what we store under the bleachers right now.
How about if we,
Are we using it? Number 3.
It's public property, we have to put it out for bid. Since we received no bids, I checked the Borough Code, it's kind of silent.
Yeah, I've followed that procedure before. In fact, we're selling the old Borough building in West Mifflin, which is a significant property. The borough tried to sell it on its own like we just did here, so they retained the services of a real estate agent. And the agent, through all of their means, did find an interested buyer. But you still come full circle back to this original process. You still have to have the advertisement and the bidding process that we went through. And I had to educate the real estate agent on this process. They thought that we could have a private negotiation sale price, so it can't happen. It would have to be a public auction. And that's what we're gonna do soon in West Mifflin, to sell that property. And I've been through that process before. So if we think a real estate agent for a commission can find a buyer that we weren't successful in through this advertisement, then you can do that. But if they identify somebody, we're gonna have to come here, advertise, and do it right here at a meeting. So there could be an exchange of offer and reduction and so forth. We'd have the authority as a council to do that. That'd be the process, so.
Was there a better alternative, or what else can we do?
We did put in the advertisement, or at least within the bid documents, that the upset price was $121,000, because that was the appraised value. Because the issue is, if we want to stick to that.
Well, then maybe you should re-advertise and put no minimum in there and see what happens. Obviously, no one wants to pay 121, or you could go with an agent, but maybe that scared everybody off.
Well, we didn't have it in the ad, we had it in the bid document itself.
Oh, no one picked them up.
No one picked them up.
Oh, well,
Anyway.
that couldn't scare anybody off. No one knew about it.
So what do you want to do? Use it for storage until we.
Maybe for the time being, yeah, but I mean, I'd still like to get rid of it.
Yeah, it's,
Well, don't we try real estate?
I think we should. Let somebody market it, see what they can do.
yeah.
But you still have to have an auction.
At the end, you got
Yeah, at the end, they find somebody. I'll talk, I'll work with them and explain to them the procedure.
But we could still put a minimum price bid on that, correct?
Do whatever you want, yeah.
Yeah, we, because somebody will come up, you know, bid $10,000 for it, $5,000.
You still don't have to, even if you don't have a minimum, you don't have to accept any
Yeah, you don't
price.
have to.
You could reject them all if you don't like the offers.
A real estate agent will reach out further than, we did.
They'll charge us a percent.
You never know, somebody might be interested.
Absolutely.
That's true, yeah, your advertisement is the limited number of people, they're gonna go out and market it. And
That's what it needs.
We did ask also if anyone submitted a bid, what the intended reuse was. Nobody picked up the dial.
Call local realtor, Bob, get the process going.
Great, thank you.
Anything else?
Okay, yeah, as far as the roads, I like to pick a Saturday, we don't need to do it now, but relatively soon. Street sweeping will be, with the COG from street sweeping, 2 Fridays in May, and then again in the September, October timeframe. That's for the contract we have with the COG, maybe we should take a look at that agreement too, Mr. Solicitor. You have in your packets, and I see that I have some distribution for the public. The Allegheny County is now announcing again its vacant property recovery program for a short period of time. Any resident can apply for a side yard if it's vacant through this program, and the county will waive its fees substantially on this, and the deadline for any resident would be June 30th to submit any proposal to Allegheny County Department of Development.
Your property has to join that property, right?
Yes. We are hosting a flagger training on April 24th. Any public works crew, street department crew that is flagging traffic for road construction or street opening, whatever, and we're involved in it, has to be certified by PennDOT. It's mandatory. If they're not certified, and if there's an accident or something, we can be held liable. So we're hosting a training session. I'd like for our entire public works department to attend. That was a Friday. 24th, it's $40 a head. And we've invited other municipalities to participate as well. Minimum of 30, maximum of 60 people. That's a 2-hour course with a test.
And they will get certified
If they pass the test.
if they pass the test.
Summer workers, we do have the advertisement out. We're accepting applications up through May 7th for any Munhall resident, youth 16 or older, to work from the end of the school up through Labor Day. That's at $8 an hour. We do have in your packets, we shared at the workshop meeting, potential new logo for our website, maroon and white. If you ever find it in your tablets, it's there. We don't need to make any decisions on this, but the website is evolving. We hope to have a photo shoot before the mid-May. We will have portrait shots for each of the council persons, so we'll expect you to dress the way you are tonight, so we want to get that done before summertime.
It'd be good to have a photo photographer at our main meeting for the students meeting.
I'm looking
That's always
at,
our most well attended.
I know, but I'm also, it's gonna be around that time, but not before. And I think that's all I have for right now.
Any questions?
Bob, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is the door locked downstairs?
No,
So I wanted to check and I forgot to check when I came in. The door is open downstairs?
I get the key, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. We'll go to our borough engineer, Lindsay.
Thank you. First I wanted to talk about demolition. I worked this month to draft technical specifications for the COG to bid the project, so that's been done. And then there's one outstanding property that needs to be investigated, so I'll have that finished in any time. And then I believe next month we're doing the hearings, is that?
Yeah, I failed to mention that in my report. Thank you, Lindsay, for reminding me. We're going to hopefully by mid-May have our public hearings, get the legal clearances out of the way on our demolition list. There are 3 on the list that are no longer on the list. That's Hardin's Place, and the 2 down on 9th Avenue that the Historical Commission will now allow us to tear down. So that leaves us with about 3 or 4. So I'll work with the solicitor. We will have probably a morning meeting to go through all that, and then COG will bid it out. So we're looking at mid-May.
Great, okay, so she has everything she needs, I believe, from me, so I'm gonna send up finalized, she did send me the property, so with the addition of that final report, we'll be done. Okay?
Safe routes to school.
Well, I've set up the project as an expert, that's their environmental clearance software. The borough had to have a ID in order to be set up, I already had a login, but they had to set it up. So it's set up in the system, we're waiting for their, final environmental clearance to say that we can replace sidewalks. We've also sent out all of our utility coordination, letters where I have to get confirmation from all the utilities that we can replace the sidewalks. Only in the existing spaces, we're not adding any additional, we're not going into state road, anything like that. However, we do have to have all this, signed off on, and if they don't respond, PennDOT has agreed to help us and initiate that, so we have to have an additional meeting. We have already submitted, revised drawings, we're waiting back to make sure that there are no additional changes on our revised drawings. We've also waiting to hear back from PennDOT if we can submit our EMS plan to Allegheny County Conservation District. That is a 30 to 60 day review. We do have the report done, we've submitted it to PennDOT, so I've pushed back to get an answer because the quicker we get that in, the quicker we have.
You have friends down there? I need to talk to them tomorrow about Westfield. Can't wait.
What? Right, we can get two done, right, at the same time. So that's where we stand. My recommendation is that maybe Bob can help me set up another meeting. I seem to get more positive movement back when we meet in person. We haven't had one in a month, so if we can schedule one in May, I feel like that would be beneficial. We are still ahead of the other two municipalities, so we're still in the lead. We're just very slow, very slow.
Just a question then, there's a sidewalk on one Main Street that narrows down, or, I don't know if you know, right by the curb over there, Bob, you know what I'm talking about, that one sidewalk, there's a utility pole there, and the sidewalk narrows down to maybe like 2 feet. You can't walk on it, I mean, especially in the winter. Are we going to fix any of that stuff? I mean, correct that? Because I think what it is the person's yard is encroaching on the sidewalk. It just, you know, the dirt just came over.
Right, is it part of, do you know where they're speaking of, is it part of the Safe Routes to School
It's
project?
around the corner, by Campbell's, well, up from Campbell's actually a little bit.
The right of way,
It's above due.
Yeah,
Okay.
above due, yes.
well, the public right of way that we have determined will be enforced, so
Okay.
it will be put back within the public right of way. So
Okay.
those situations, if there's a utility pole, obviously we're not going to be really
Yeah,
paying
there's a
that, we'll be
pole right
working
there.
around that. And with, where the handicap ramps will also be installed, and they're designed to be plan, like, installed per plan, unless they can't be, and there'll be modifications,
Okay,
which are
okay, yeah.
individually approved. So that case would be a scenario where we set a design that's not exactly how it's always designed, but will
Okay.
accommodate that pad. Sometimes they're turned sideways, sometimes they're diagonal, so that this safety
Okay, yeah.
features are still there.
That one area, I mean, the kids are always out on the street when
As
they
long
come
as
to that
there's
area.
an, the existing right of way is not always what's built, so
Okay,
if
yeah,
the existing right of way will be maintained.
thanks.
You're welcome. That's all of my report.
Thank you, Lindsay.
You're welcome.
Okay, we will move on to the Public Works Supervisor, Mr. Bison.
Yes. A copy of my report. On my report, I sent 2 guys to Allegheny County School to renew their rat license. You have to do that every year. It's rats and mosquitoes and stuff like that. Apparently, it's gonna be a bad year for mosquitoes. The county's gonna abate around Munhall. So, you see that around. And we talked last month about LED lights in the garage. I didn't get any bids back, so maybe next month.
Next month, all right.
And that's all I have. Any questions?
You're still gonna be out patching potholes?
Yep, all summer.
Good. People call in, if you find a big hole, call them in.
We're not, we gonna be able to do any of those? I mean, there's a couple really bad apples.
There's about 5 dozen.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are really bad.
We'll take a worse in the alleys.
You really can't tell the difference anymore.
We're gonna have a lake remediation, we're gonna remediate Lake Lloyd. All right. Moving on, Chief of Police.
Mr. President, give a copy of my report on the brief. 530 incidents for the month, 65 arrests, and 77 citations issued. Captain Snyder and myself have a meeting in the morning up in West Mifflin regarding our reporting system. We're gonna go entertain another vendor. We have one set up in the next couple of weeks with the county. County system is supposed to be free, instead of we're paying probably $5,000 a year.
For what, Tulip, is that the one we use, Tulip?
We're looking at other systems, some, the one the county's offering may be free for not one year. So we're gonna look at that. Nothing else to report, any questions?
I have a question, Chief.
Ask away.
How many prisoners have we held over this past month? The big issue with 911 was prisoners, or watching prisoners. Has it been a burden or not?
It's a burden, no, we work it out. We have, I can't give you a number off the top of my head, it's not included in this report. Out of 65 arrests, I would say half of them spent some time on our cell.
But no overnight, nothing really overnight or anything like that?
We don't hold anyone over, we hold them until they're deemed sober. If we're gonna hold someone for a period of time, that's the longest period of time, until they're deemed sober. We deem them sober, they're not a danger to themselves or the community. We release them, we release them to someone. If it's someone who's actually going to the county jail, they spend a very short period of time in there, because they'll be transported down to the jail by either an officer or a constable.
So it's really not been a real hardship on the force then? And now with you have a dispatcher in there, not a dispatcher, but you have an office clerk in there?
Correct.
How are you working the desks so council knows? Because I know people have been asking. Can you give us a little input on what you're doing there?
Mark is working, Shannon, being in her current situation, is working her regular shift, 3 to 11, the same cast days, I believe, Wednesday, Thursday. She's assigned to the station right now. Mark works around her schedule. He works most of the day less. The day she's off, he starts late. He starts at like noon. So noon to 8, 2 days a week, 8 to 4, 3 days a week.
Good.
So everything's working out fine.
It's working out better. There's a couple of those days they overlap by a few hours. Mark is doing the UCR reports, uniform crime reports. That gives him time to do those while Shannon's attending to the regular charge duties at that time.
Good.
Shannon's also handling walking complaints. The police officer would normally handle helping the guys with the evidence, stuff like that.
Thank you.
Now, somebody covering her shift in the field?
We totally redid the schedule. We put two of the detectives are working uniform shifts, 2 days a week. That's how we made up. We had to switch a couple of the guys' days that they had off for a number of years. We rearranged some of those to make it work.
Okay.
It was pretty, it was not easy to do, but it got done.
How you doing? Good.
Okay, Mr. Brennan?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm glad we were informed.
Okay. Dave, code enforcement. Thank you, Chief.
Fire chief.
Oh, I missed the fire chief.
You
have the floor, Ed. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had 38 emergency responses. We weren't too busy last month. Total about 1,690 hours. All of you have my report. There were some things going on. Steel Valley School District has been very helpful. We've been bringing in training classes on a regular basis and utilizing the auditorium at the high school for some of these. We have another one coming up in May in a couple of weeks we're going to be doing. So they've been a pretty good partner with us for use of the facilities. Just a couple of nagging injuries that are ongoing. There's nothing we can do about that, but people are progressing. I have nothing else to report on them. It's workers' comp issues. A couple of questions I had. One was to the borough manager. You asked me about the siren. And if I had any information on the siren. I haven't been able to locate it. It's out there somewhere. However, when the siren was signed off on, Chester Engineers has all the information on the siren because they were the project manager. When they put the siren up, they project managed that. I believe that's what I was
Was this the
told.
one out back?
Yeah, number 2 siren. We're moving.
That's Bodie.
Part of the project, is removing the siren from the pole, and they're gonna be mounting it up on the roof. So, check with Chester, they should have all of it. If not, Bodie will have that. And I have a question, and it's kind of, overlooked, but, and it's not really a fire department, thing, but the Red Cross trailer is in, number 3 fire department, stored there. It was originally, it was a donation from U.S. Steel to the area. We have a group of citizens that maintain the trailer. Should an emergency come up, we need to house 100 people. You deploy that trailer. It's not really the fire department, but we seem to get it there wherever it has to go, so the fire department went.
My garage for 6 years.
Yeah, it was stored, and then they threw it out, and we ended up storing it, I forget where it was, and it ended up at number 3, and they moved out. With the pending sale of that building, we need to consider a location for that. I really don't have a place to store that. I'm sure that we don't want to get rid of it. It's a value to the community, should we ever have a disaster. But we need to think about that. I don't know if we can put it somewhere, make some room somewhere. There's no room for this trailer.
Number 5's old building up there, what are they gonna keep in there?
The number 5 is already housing, they're already housing the alleyway. I mean, we could put it outside, maybe build a lean-to or something over, or something like that, to protect it from the elements, but there's always water, cases of water in the thing. And to ask those girls to come and load water up to maintain that thing at 3 o'clock in the morning when it gets deployed. So we really need to find a heated place for this thing. It's been on my mind for a while with the pending sale on number 3. I don't know what to do about it. I don't have a place for it. I just want everybody to consider that, It's a value to us. I mean, we have it, and our neighboring communities don't. So if something happens, we can put 100 people into a shelter at the high school and, provide them with bedding and supplies. Like when that microburst hit, it hits us, blows out a neighborhood, we put 100 people, we can house them for a couple of days. So it's a value. It does go to other towns when called upon, but we store it here. So, food for thought for you guys. Think about
Thanks
it.
for bringing that up.
Is there any, does anybody have a question for the fire?
One quick one. The young gentleman who hurt his legs, how's he doing in rehab?
Good. He's progressing well. He's way ahead of schedule. So it's still a long road for him, but he is progressing. He's been seen all over town and living around.
And his prognosis is a good recovery?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Ed, Rich brought up last week about maintenance on some of the vehicles. Is it being done in a timely manner? Is that a concern? Is that not
It is.
okay? It is?
It's a concern.
It's a concern?
Yeah.
It hasn't been-
They catch you up and off.
First vehicle can't really handle.
We thought that maybe the transition to the new guy would give him a little bit more time.
Yeah, we give him some breathing room there.
But if it gets to be an issue, let me know.
Okay, we have had 2 fire engines out of service for a week, and nagging problems with another one today. Recently, the squirt, they were told, there's a couple valves and stuff they have to replace. Well, those valves aren't made, so they were gonna put some off-brand on them, and some of the lights were different. And number 1's chief expressed concern to me about that, because it didn't look the same, and he was able to find them online. They are available, little things like that. Just get off your ass and get on the computer and try to find some stuff. And I have some concerns about some of the other way it's being handled, some of the other things, the technical stuff, like the generators and some of the other things that, they're diesel mechanics.
I'll give him a little more time, but once he gets to the point where we'll have to.
This is a guy that's gonna be working on our fire pumps, I don't know what kind of training and specialty he has, but we'll address that with first vehicle on our end. They're very good at reassuring us that they're trained.
Well, I mean, if we find that they're not, then you may have to go back to Lowry's or where you went before.
Well, that has been suggested and looked at, but if we do that, the contract shrinks, you lose the mechanic in the back, that affects everything. So,
Well, I don't know that we have to have, it doesn't cover the older fire vehicles anyway, over 10 years old.
now, I will say the first vehicle has been pretty good with maintaining a lot of things. Every once in a while, they'll throw that up and say, this vehicle's over 15 years old, we're not gonna cover it. and we have to scramble to find the funds. Number 4's rescue truck was an example of that. Truck's in excellent working condition, it's not going anywhere for another 15 years, not getting rid of it. Costs $300,000 to replace it, we wanna maintain it. And, cost us $1,800 to fix the shift gear on it, wasn't covered by first vehicle, we didn't pay that. I could've bought a used one for $600, but I opted to not do that, but, those are the kind of little things that we run into.
And that's also a concern, like you're saying, a lot of vehicles are over 15 years old, but they're in hell of a good shape.
Right.
But they're out of the warranty of the first vehicle.
That isn't a concern that we tried to express to council prior to signing the last first vehicle contract was, they threw this 15-year thing in front of us, so technically, there's probably 3 vehicles that are covered, or 4 now, 100% under their total umbrella. The rest of the fleet, there's, 12, we have 12 vehicles or something like that in the fleet. So, but we're maintaining right now, so.
What do other communities or what do other volunteer fire departments do that don't have the luxury of first vehicle? Farm it out.
Farm it out. It can't be a nightmare. You really need to sign a contract with somebody or have somebody look at it. It was a maintenance nightmare. Everybody was sending their stuff everywhere, so there was no real, it would need to be worked out if we did consider.
We haven't had a lot of fleet maintenance issues here, except for some turnover for a long time.
And I think first vehicle's been a benefit to the municipality as a whole. The mechanics end of it, as far as the repairs on the diesels and the public works truck, I think is pretty good. I'm sure Vicey could speak more to that. Pat can't, he has no, I talked to Pat about it, he's had no problems because they've been working on cars or car mechanics, so that's not an issue. It's some of the more technical stuff, the ladder truck, and some of the things, both the ladder and the telescope require additional stuff, that services that they don't do, so.
I think the preventive maintenance also has a lot to do with it, because the first vehicle does preventive maintenance.
Right, on a regular
They change
basis.
the oil regularly.
And they keep maintenance records, which we need not only for vehicle safety, but for legal purposes.
Absolutely, and that was a big point on our ISO, that was a couple points on ISO, was our fleet maintenance records. So that helped us. We had none of that 20 years ago, those kind of records and access to that. That did help us. So there are advantages to it, but there are some, things that drive me crazy on it.
We need to talk about that sooner than later and have an alternative plan of action and see how this goes, all right?
Yeah.
Do the COGS do any maintenance on fire trucks, fire vehicles?
No.
None?
No.
The issue with number 5, the brakes on the ladder truck,
Yes.
is that being addressed? Or
It has been addressed.
Okay.
The
It was under
computer-
warranty from what I hear.
The computer died on number 5's ladder on the truck, on 8th Avenue, caused the truck to stall. The long story short on that, it was the computer was replaced. After that happened, a year before we started having the problems with the brakes. The last set of brakes we got, the drums were broken after 28 miles,
Yeah,
I believe.
I heard it was
They
ridiculous.
sheared the drums in half on the rear, okay, so that's, first vehicle took the stance that we don't really know what's wrong, but your truck's overweight. They told us that the truck was overweight. DOT standards, and they threw DOT standards at me, they basically were implying that the fire truck was overweight. Fire truck is not overweight, it meets all DOT standards, and it came right out of a factory built in Pennsylvania. So it meets all the road standards, okay, so that was one thing. And then we found out that the problem was actually, when the computer died, the Jake brake computer, the Jake brake also has a computer, that was never reset properly. Therefore, those problems were caused by an improper working Jake brake system, which caused the brakes to heat up at the bottom of that hill. They were probably glowing red like lava by the time they hit the bottom of the time without that Jake brake.
When you brought number 5 up, one of the things that comes up about number 5 to me is, how about their door?
Still needs fixed.
Needs fixed.
They have 3 man doors total there that are rusted out that need repaired.
And that's been an ongoing couple of years now.
2 years. We're supposed
So
to
that
have.
was brought to my attention, at least 2
Yeah.
years ago.
It was supposed to be fixed when our previous borough manager.
I remember, and he went out and got estimates, but we never saw an estimate come in out of it.
Vicey fixed number 4's door, thank you. Number 4 had a problem with their door, the lock mechanism, probably needs replacement
I
right
thought
now.
he ordered them doors.
He's,
Told me that.
he told all of us he did.
Well, let's give on number 5's, about number 5's door, see if we can do something.
Yeah, there's a really bad.
I had somebody to come and,
Oh, rusted
I've
out.
looked at it, I've been up there.
I had someone to come and give him talk on doors and get him a price on doors, he told me he already ordered, so I let the other guy go, and, here we are.
There is one thing I think the borough should consider that we seem to have the most maintenance issues with is the garage doors. We blow springs out of our garage doors all the time, and that could probably be solved by a little bit of routine. We have overhead or easy overhead door come in once a year, maybe do some routine maintenance. That might save a couple $1,000s a year on a door. Something we need to consider for maybe next year is having them come in and do the routine maintenance.
And are you gonna get bids or get some estimates of repair of that door?
Number 5?
Yeah.
They're out there, the borough already has them, but I
Do you have
can't.
Well, he doesn't have them, and we don't have them.
I'll see if I can dig them up.
That's what's on
Yeah.
The door repairs up at number 5. The borough had all that though.
Yeah, that was back in 2013.
The records retention,
I understand.
do you
We
understand?
did have the door repaired, though, we did do a recent one, didn't we, Bob?
There was somebody hit the door, we got it fixed when somebody.
That's,
wrecked
yeah,
it.
that's different.
That's a
These are the
different-
man doors walking in, they're all rusted out at the bottom, you can't
You
shut
also
them.
may need a exterminator at number 5 too, right?
Number 4 I just had Alpha Exterminating go into number 5, or number 4, and handle a rodent problem, and he sprayed the entire building. And I was gonna address that with the borough manager at some time, but restarting the program we haven't done for a long time, and that was just a routine, a routine spray of all the buildings. It hasn't been getting done. I don't know whether the borough's been paying for it, but I can tell you that it's not getting done, it hasn't.
He still does the borough building, does he not?
Ron? I haven't seen him for a while.
Yeah, once in a while.
No, I
Yeah.
haven't seen him.
Nothing.
I'm interested in switching
I would
those
suggest,
fire departments.
I would suggest maybe getting another
We had a
service.
former employee used to look.
Well, how do you go about just saying, well, let's get a couple doors fit up here and let's, spend $10,000 downstairs and let's do another $4,000 repair when it's
If
not.
it's in their budget.
It's not budgeted. It's
I don't know if it's.
It's
the
not in
budget
our
for this
general
year.
budget to spend $70,000 on a backhoe. And it's not in our budget to spend $15,000 on the building down there.
Well, sometimes you have to spend things off budget. If we don't have a backhoe
I'm
and the
just
stuff
asking the
falls,
question.
it's,
Asking the
You
question
steal,
how.
you steal it from some other line item.
We agreed to sell number 3's building with the money in the number 2's building.
Now they don't wanna sell number three fire hall right now.
Well,
They want to put it out, they want to use those still.
Till we sell it.
okay, let's, let's
was
finish your report, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank you, let's move on. Mr. Cannon, can we have your report, please?
Yes, you have a copy of my report, I have nothing else to report.
Dave, I have a question.
Sure.
Give this to Mr.
I want to keep this quick. At the end of Dave's parking lot, there's random slabs of concrete that are stacked like this. There's kids playing on them.
Yes.
It's gonna be a problem. I mean, if it was a private property, you wouldn't be able to stack up concrete. Where did that concrete come from? From where?
Run the school.
They removed the sidewalk,
Keep it there. It's been there for a couple of years. How many years? Yeah, well, there's kids playing on it the other day. I mean, it could be a real problem. One of those slab shift. Okay, Dave, thank you.
All right, if that concludes your report, Dave, then we'll hear from the sewer authority manager. He's not here, so we can move into items for consideration. Mr. Callen.
Okay, page 2 of your agenda, items for consideration. We've had some discussions on some of these already. Motion number 1, motion to enter into an agreement with the Shar West Council of Governments for Vector Catch Basin lateral cleaning services at $875 per day.
Do we want to have an amendment to that because of the insurance issue?
I'd like to see somebody table, I'd like to table it till we resolve that issue.
Motion to table that.
Second on that?
Second.
All those in favor of tabling the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Question?
Will that, prolong the cleaning of the basins?
Yeah, it will, till we find out about our insurance providers.
I mean, I can check the insurance tomorrow or Friday, if it's not a problem. I hate to wait until next May.
Because before you know it,
Subject
it's the rainy
to
season.
ensuring we can have the proper insurance in place to cover the vacuum and its operator.
Okay,
I think that's the way
I
we
would
should.
entertain a motion to approve it, on a, on a conditional, on a
Insurance rider?
condition of the insurance rider being in place.
We have to take back
Mr.
there.
Shields makes the
I'll
motion.
make that motion.
Do we have a second on the motion?
second by Mr. Bodine.
That's to approve it.
Next to approve it, once we meet the condition of having the proper insurance.
That's better.
That'd be done by
Okay.
Friday.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously.
Okay, number two, motion to contract with Spectrum Medical Corporation for the provision of random drug alcohol on-site testing for Munhall Borough employed CDL drivers at $95 per random test and analysis.
This is the motion that Greg advised that there is a passing of liability in the contract to us for their errors and omissions. And what we discussed was looking for other vendors to see if they didn't have that in their contract. And for that reason, I'd like to entertain a motion to table until we find out that information.
Motion to table.
Motion to table by Mr. Shields, second by Mr. Falls. Discussion on the motion? All those in
Just the
favor?
one thing, the $95, that is pretty reasonable for a test, you know?
No doubt.
Yeah, but that's why I asked what kind of test they're doing, and you're not getting the good test for the $95, I can tell you that.
We're not?
You know, you're getting your analysis. Then if it comes out positive, then they'll go to the next step. But I don't think that's involved there.
So with that, that's very challenging too.
Yeah, the urinalysis is.
I mean, someone takes medication, or
You
something.
don't even have to take, you can eat the wrong type of pastry and come out
I
positive.
guess they're not testing hair.
They could do that, but not with the urinalysis test.
Okay.
And the other thing too with that contract, if you decide you wanna go into that, we want a 30-day termination provision. I mean, what if we don't like their service in 3, 4, 5 months? I'm gonna be stuck to them for a year.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to table this till we have more information on the contract and we can change the contract. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Number three.
Number three, motion to enter into an intergovernmental cooperation agreement with Homestead, West Homestead, and the Steel Valley COG to continue with the Waterfront TIF District Maintenance Fund and assign the Steel Valley COG as the agent to administer the fund.
Question. Have they been assigned as far as, they've been doing this before, or this new to them, or?
No, they did this before.
This
This
before?
was the framework that we used to use the TIF funds, $875,000 to repay the waterfront drive and repair the sewer basins. It worked very well.
So they've been the administration?
Right.
Just one note on that. At 5 foot from where they stop the paving in the Munhall side, there's a pothole that you can put a stop sign at the bottom. There's a huge one.
Bob, can you,
You know, it's when I'm, right, it's not on Waterfront Drive, right after the paving where Munhall starts. It's
There's a
huge.
collapsed catch basin.
I don't know what it is. You know, if you're over in Millside, it could be anything down there.
yeah, I will tell you this, that I was approached, and Bill Stasko, president of West Homestead Council, was approached by Lloyd Cunningham for pothole patching coming out of the TIF funds, and Bill and I both said, no, we'll fix our own potholes, we're not gonna fix all the Homestead potholes out of the TIF money.
Yeah, if you
We've
could check
agreed
that
to
one
do our
out.
own maintenance
It's
on
big.
Waterfront Drive until the next major project, okay?
That's the only big one. The rest of it looks in pretty good shape. Them guys did a good job sealing it.
Yeah, okay. So we have a, we didn't have a motion, do we have a motion on the intergovernmental cooperation agreement, number 3?
Yes.
Okay, motion by Shields, second by Mr. Bodine. Any more discussion on that? It was read in work session and Greg reviewed it and said it was fine. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Number 4.
Motion to exonerate Munhall Borough tax collector for 2014 uncollected real estate taxes.
You say that amount, about $349.
$349,000, yes, uncollected for 2014.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Ballas, second by Mr. Bodine. Discussion. It's pretty cut and dry. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously.
Number 5, motion to contract with Baker's Waterproofing at a cost of $3,882 to correct water infiltration in volunteer fire department number 2 facility.
Mr. Brennan?
I'll make that motion.
I can't make that motion.
I will.
I can't vote in favor of it.
Okay, motion's on the floor by Mr. Ballas. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bodine. Discussion on the motion. Mr. Brennan.
I question how we can vote on things when we never even read anything about it.
You want to address that, Bob?
Well, the chief could certainly address the damage. I've asked Mr. Bicey to go out there and get some quotes for us. We did get one from Hoss's Plumbing for the same work. But Baker's does this for a living, and it's under the threshold that we really don't have to get competitive bids.
And Baker's did do an excellent job on the other side, underneath the police station. That's still good, is it not? And that was 3 years. I mean, they did a very good job there.
Is there any type of guarantee or anything on this coming? I mean, if
Mr.
there's a
Brennan has
problem-
all the paperwork there, so here you go.
Oh, yeah, you have.
Anything.
It's in your
Computer.
stuff I sent.
It's just that that water problem's been going on for so long.
Oh, it's, yeah, it has. It's terrible.
And, we keep putting it off and putting it off, and, nothing's getting done, and it's more damage.
And I think the price is really reasonable.
That's very reasonable.
I'm gonna
It's
charge
certainly a
you.
guarantee, Mr. Falk.
Aren't we required, for some amount, we're required to at least get like a phone bid or we're supposed to?
Now, anything under $10,000, 10,005, negotiated with one. If it's between 10,5 and 18,9 or something like that,
18.4.
you get 3 telephone quotes. Anything over 18,4, we have to go out and seal bid.
Like Mr. Ballas says, we know the work they did in the front,
They
and it worked.
did excellent
It
work.
really worked.
It took them a day and a half. I mean,
Yeah.
It didn't take them very long.
Are these two firms working in conjunction or are these totally separate?
Totally separate. Because we did get a bid from Haas's to do the same thing, along with what is suggested for them to do other work. But according to the evaluation, Baker's will do a much better job. Right?
Remove and replace 1/2 inch drywall, concrete floated, ready for paint.
No, that's Haas's.
I know, that's the next part of it, but the waterproofing is pretty cut and dry. They're gonna waterproof, they're gonna strain.
I just question if they're
If they're
certified,
certified,
if they can do the mold.
if they're certified in mold abatement.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
the
that's
thing.
nasty stuff.
That's
That's the next one, okay, that's the next one,
That's
I'm
the next
sorry.
one.
Right.
We're still on Baker's.
Okay.
I made the motion.
You made the motion, seconded by Mr. Bodine. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No?
Mr. Brennan. 4-1.
Next one, number 6, motion,
Motion passes 4-1. Number 5.
5-1.
5-1.
motion to contract.
No,
with
4-1, I didn't vote. I abstained.
Number 6, motion to contract with Haas's Plumbing in the amount of $10,500 to correct interior deficiencies and restoration activities within volunteer fire department number 2 facility.
Question, are they certified in
Mold.
mold abatement?
I don't know.
That's big.
I mean, is it in their contract?
It's not stated within their proposal.
And we know for a fact there is mold there.
Is there a mold down there now?
That wall,
I'm
No
gonna pass,
professional mold guy, but I would probably think after the years of water, that there's probably something back there.
I'm gonna pass this around because, you know, this is first I'm seeing it too. We can talk about it.
the phone will load all this stuff into the.
But the technical difficulties didn't allow these things to come through.
I think we have to table this one and check it out a little
Well,
bit.
pass it down, let everybody see it, you know. Mr. Brennan is probably right.
That's how it came up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lloyd. Did everyone hear that out there?
I think we didn't hear that. I think we need Baker to do the water.
We voted, that's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
We gotta keep the water out, the damage, we can wait a month, because there's just no spec there. not saying.
Glenn, we need to do the waterproofing, but we have to wait to get the inside.
Absolutely.
This is, I'm sure.
One step at a time. Right.
Okay, well,
Get the water stopped would be great.
Yeah.
We'll just hold off on that.
do we have a motion?
Oh,
on the
Brian's
floor
here
for
too.
this?
I forgot you were.
Motion to table by Mr. Foster, move a second.
I second.
Second by Mr. Brennan, all those in favor of tabling the Hoss's plumbing bid?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's tabled. Unanimous.
Number 7, motion to approve a 3-year lease for 2 police vehicles from Dave Ford at the Shaycog joint bid price of $87,890.20 total. I know you guys didn't get this, it was a part of the email, but that's over 3 years, and the first year is $30,000, second year is $31,000, and third, whatever the balance is.
Now, we do have money in the budget for this, do we not?
We have money in the budget of $30,000 for 2015.
Okay, so the first payment is in the budget. Okay.
Make a motion. Motion by Mr. Dan,
Second.
second by Mr. Ballas. Question on the motion, Mr. Brennan, you were gonna ask the chief.
I question, can we get away with just one vehicle and save $30,000?
We've been doing this program for a number of years. The mayor initiated this probably when Chief Parker was still here. I believe 2 times in that span, we've tried to eliminate a car or skip a year altogether, and we paid for the span.
It was a mess.
I think it was 1 or 2 times we had to actually rent a generic looking police vehicle from Moss Side Motors over in Turtle Creek. These cars are run 24 hours a day. They build up a lot of mileage pretty quick. Whether we have the maintenance on them or not, they're told that they're used 24 hours a day.
Because back to how many vehicles are you running? You said you had 9 vehicles?
We have, the list is downstairs, I provided that to you last meeting.
Right. It first was brought out that we had 11, but you said no, we indeed are only have run, I believe, 9 vehicles.
The K-9 vehicle, we've already turned over to Mr. Cannon.
How's that working?
He had to get jumped, the battery was dead, it wasn't being used. The other car, when it comes in, it's going over to Public Works. We have 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 10. We have 6 marked right now. We have 1 that's due to detectives, a 7, 1 that's with Sergeant Price at the DEA, that's 8, and the F-150, which Detective Catarina used for narcotics. That's 9.
Okay.
So you have 6 basically marked vehicles.
Correct.
That's what we're replacing.
Right.
The cost of 6.
Well, you asked 6, and there's 2 more will make 8.
No, we're getting
There
rid
you
of it.
go.
We replaced it.
You're replacing 2,
One's going to, they're gonna be redistributed within the fleet.
right? Right, and the other one's gonna be sold. Or both are
No,
gonna.
they're both going.
They're both being redistributed.
They'll probably both be redistributed within the fleet. They'll stay within the fleet.
And if we don't buy 2, if we buy 1,
If you buy one, but what I'm telling you is, these cars, like I said, these cars run all day long, all night long, every day of the year. They don't hold, they're not.
I'm not doubting that. I see the value of the program. I've seen when we didn't do it one time and we had cars, we didn't have cars to put police officers in.
We have big guys doubling up in cars with their rent,
And-
generic booking.
But to Mr. Brennan's point of managing the town fiscally, on a fiscally sound basis, we have an unbudgeted backhoe that we're probably gonna have to buy in order, that's gonna cost us a ton of money. So it's not outlandish on his part to say maybe we should only buy 1 car this year because we're gonna have to make a $25,000 down payment on a backhoe. Because if we can't salt the streets, we're gonna wreck a bunch of police cars. So you have to respect his
If we
opinion
can't
too.
pave the streets, what are we getting? I mean, our streets are so bad. that you can't drive on them.
But
They're,
let's-
they're gonna be,
I understand, let's
That-
keep this discussion.
Right,
close
so-
first.
so-
this does-
There's, you know, we kept it within our budget, it's not outside of our.
I understand
budget for-
that, I understand that.
Like I said, this is the program that we've been using for quite some time. It seems to work. Keeps us in vehicles instead of doubling up, having two-man cars, or someone who's standing on the street corner.
Once you stop this program, then
Right,
you just go back
like I
to
said,
square one.
it took us,
Well, can't you just, you can, like, say if we ordered one next month, we're gonna order one new
we're
car.
already ordered.
They're
We
already
signed the
ordered.
quote.
No, we subject to council's approval.
So say if we order one, can't we come back 6 months later and order another one?
Sure we could.
It's not like they don't make cars anymore, it's not like we couldn't say, you know what, we see we really do need one. We could bring another one into the fleet as well, it's not like you have to bring two in at a time.
No, you have to also
We have to stay
understand.
within
it
the
takes-
budget, though, we can't spend that money somewhere else in 6
Right,
months from
it
now.
takes-
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
We can't spend that.
A few months to get a car delivered.
Yeah, that's what I was
They
gonna
don't
ask.
just sell you the police car with all the lights and sirens on it.
Well, I realize you have to get it set up.
Right, the cars are, from what I understand, the cars are at Lowry's already. The equipment is coming in, and it's being installed.
It's not just our cars, it's through the SHACOG bid, other municipalities participate. It's a joint.
Yeah, just about every municipality on this side of the state uses that.
Well, let
same
me ask you a question, if these cars were already kind of, I don't, quasi-ordered or whatever they are prior to council approval, if we decided tonight, hey, you know what, we think maybe it's fiscally prudent to only buy one car right now, like Mr. Brennan says, and get another one in 6 months, are we gonna suffer some kind of penalty or charge, was these cars are ordered?
I don't believe so. I will talk to Mr. Decker tomorrow. I talked to him yesterday.
You know, because all the municipalities are, again, it was a joint bid, joint purchase.
Well, if we decide to buy one, obviously the money budgeted, we're gonna use for the backhoe.
Yes.
So,
Most likely.
No, we have $30,000 budgeted for 2015.
For 2 police cars.
No, we just budgeted $30,000.
No, he just has a number budget. He doesn't, he's not budgeting 2 cars, he has $30,000 in the budget.
Right, which was at his request for
Which is what he's
2 police
figuring.
cars.
Right, I understand that.
And that 30,000, again, spread over 3 years, covers that 87,000
I understand that as well.
lease price.
Right, but if we buy one, we're not gonna pay out 30,000 this year, we're gonna pay 15, and we potentially could move that money over to Public Works to get a down payment on a lease for a backhoe, if that's what we need to do. Or we can just say, well, it doesn't matter, we're gonna buy a backhoe, we're gonna go over budget, and that's kind of what you're getting at. 'cause
That
that's
is what I'm
we've
getting
done
at.
here.
I
It's
mean,
just-
so if we do that,
we have no qualms about spending money.
that we don't have.
well,
We don't
the backhoe issue came up, there's gonna be unbudgeted issues that are gonna come up over the years, that's what happened.
I
We
understand.
talked about the public works truck catching on fire 5 years ago. But when it comes down to, if we're gonna say, we're gonna save $15,000, and it's gonna end up going towards the backhoe, and all of a sudden Pat says, come September, I need another car.
Right, I got
That money's already
cars
spent.
that are dead.
That money's spent then.
Right, it's done, and then like I said, it takes he told me 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. He tells me 6 to 8 weeks every time, and it's usually 10 to 12.
Well, I know what we learned over the years about having the vehicles. When you have more vehicles, you end up with less miles on more vehicles,
Right.
and it's easy to maintain them because they don't you don't have a bunch of miles piling up on 3 or 4 vehicles. You
Right,
spread it
they
out
stay
over
under
5%.
factory warranty, they're easier for first vehicle.
I understand.
You know,
I know you.
We're turning
understand all
a
that.
vehicle over today with 74,000 miles that's 7 years old. If that car was driven by one person, you know, for the last 5 years, it was a pain in the ass.
All I have to say on it is,
If it was any other vehicle, if that was a day, we would have got rid of that vehicle 6 years ago.
Okay, Mr. Brennan.
Darrell Parker, when he was chief of police, the budget and the money that the borough had was, we were much better off financially. Today, we are stretching every year, every end of the year, to make that budget, to make the end, we're gonna make it in November,
We
December.
were stretching back then too.
We were always stretching.
Then just go for it.
No, I'm just saying, that's not true. We were stretching, we weren't, in La La Land, 10 years ago either. We were always
We
down
might
to the
have
wire.
been in love.
It was,
It's a program that's been successful for us. I mean, I hate to stop it. I mean, if you wanna look at it, but we did put this through in the budget last
Okay,
year.
well,
that he's gonna get these.
You mind, Rob, we'll table the discussion and take the vote.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'm not gonna oppose it, I'll make it unanimous.
Okay, it's unanimous. Motion carries. 2 vehicles. Number 8.
Number 8, motion to hire Rachel Boss as an intern at a cost of $10 per hour, no benefits, with a half of the cost to be reimbursed by the local government academy upon successful completion of the 5-year capital improvement plan. Just to fill you in on this a little bit, many municipalities applied to the local government academy for an intern. We were one of 18 out of 60 or 70 that applied. I met with 24 different students a couple weeks ago at the fair where we interviewed each other. I called in 4 people to be interviewed, and we did a little bit of a background check, of course, and my recommendation is to go with Rachel Boss, who is a graduate student at the University of Pittsburgh Graduate School of Public and International Affairs. This would be a maximum of 480 hours, probably from mid-May up through mid-August.
And the grant pays for half of it.
Half of it. Reimbursed after the completion of the program.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Brennan,
Second.
second by Mr. Ballas. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Number 9.
Number 9, motion to contract with Heather, how you pronounce it? Nipus at a total cost of $850 to conduct professional photo shoot sessions for all borough-related services, departments, and council for the Munhall website redesign. I can tell you that we did get 4 proposals in, ranging from, one $4,000, I didn't even talk to that guy. One for $1,000, one for $850, another one for $850. I decided, I recommended to go with Heather. She is a Munhall resident, and it's a good price.
Why didn't we go with the $4,000 one?
I didn't think I was gonna pass.
You don't, I think they're right there.
Well, I just bring it up because when we did the RFP for the pension advisor, we went with the most expensive one.
Thanks.
But, you know, I just thought I'd throw that in. Okay, we have a motion, any discussion? Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Do we not have the motion?
I don't think so.
What's it's a.
I'll make the motion.
No, we made a motion.
Yeah, but I don't remember a motion though.
I apologize.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Ballas makes the motion,
I second.
Mr. Brennan seconds. All those in favor of the motion, this time.
Yeah.
Signify by saying
The real
aye.
motion.
All those opposed, the result's the same. Thank you for making it.
Thanks.
Just number 10.
Number 10, I have it. Motion to pay bills for the period of March 19, 2015 through April 14, 2015, as in the monthly bill list summarized. Administration, $76,277.09. Police, $136,449.51. Fire, $8,931.69. Health and sanitation, $20,735.90. Public Works, $110,591.34. Recreation, $5,794.92. And miscellaneous, $30,833.06. For a total of $389,613.51.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Bonadine. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Falls. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Number 11.
Motion to approve payroll for the period of March 13, 2015 through April 9th of 2015 as follows. March 13th, $134,408.98. April 9th, $139,548.36, for a total of $273,957.34.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Foss. Second by Mr. Bodadian.
And you
Discussion.
said we have about 3 million left in the bank.
As of the end of March.
As of the end, as of
And
this.
that, all the real estate taxes are in the bank.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Next meeting will be our students here, for the next regular meeting, workshop meeting, of course, the 13th.
What's the day after? You know about the day after, how we take them on a parade, we take them on a tour first, then in a parade. They all do signs and posters, and you know about all that?
I was here for the first one, I didn't know what the heck was going on.
Okay.
That was before the council.
Who's gonna pick up the slack for the mayor on that? Is he usually?
I think he plans on being here.
Nobody here. Man, I'll be
He's
there.
got Becky working on it.
All right, Becky, you're
Oh,
in.
Becky, you know about it?
All right, so we have
I have a couple of
announcements. Quick announcements.
We'll crawl here on his eyelids if he has to be.
Yeah. we'll get-
On his eyelids.
I bet.
Wow. Mr. Bodadian.
Yeah, I got a question for, Mr. Galvin. These reports that we were getting, fire chief's reports, engineer and so on and so forth, they're supposed to be online now, and I can't find them anywhere now. On my
It's on your email, which was sent out at 5 o'clock
I
today.
just went on my phone and I found them, there's 81 pages of
There's
it, my
81
phone won't load
pages.
it.
So you want paper copies?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I thought that was gonna go into that special, program that he set up.
Well, it should, you should be able to open the email. Mine went to a spam folder. It was blocked, so it has to be unblocked, and there's a procedure for unblocking. That's why I didn't get mine.
We need to work on that. We have to have someone, we need another hour to fill an assistant for all of us.
Yeah, that should go into the regular,
What
you call
The cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not quite there yet, because my computer isn't set up for that yet, so that's why I'm sending it to you by your personal email. Did you open your email today?
Yeah, but maybe I missed it, I did open the email.
It was attached, okay.
Okay,
I have a couple quick announcements.
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
I understand the flagpole at Woodhill Park has been installed.
That was from the VFW.
Yeah, Harvey talked about last week.
Yeah, he talked about it, and I seen Mr. Alberts, I think he was the vice president up there. He told me yesterday that it was installed.
Did we get the design on the plaque yet, and did the plaque get away?
Don't think so.
No, but we need to do that.
Who's working on that? You and Harvey?
I'll talk to Harvey when he gets
All right.
back. Harvey more than me.
Okay.
Do we need to send a note or anything, please? Do we need to send a note?
We're gonna have a presentation.
I'll talk to Harvey about it. And the other thing is, I've been informed that Munhall Baseball opening, and we're all invited on Saturday, April 18th.
That's this Saturday.
This Saturday at 11 o'clock, first pitch at noon.
I won't be there, I won't be able to make it this year.
You made quite a few over the years. though.
I've been there.
Anything else, Rob?
There's a garden cleanup, I'm trying to think where it's at. What's the?
It's in, Glen Park, the Henderborg down there, the administration building.
There's a garden cleanup going on there on Saturday too, starting at 9.
With Franklin?
Franklin, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a cleanup and they're gonna
Some
put a
plan.
garden in.
and anybody in the community that wants to volunteer, they're starting at 9, they can use all the less people they can get.
It's through the Munhall Garden Club.
If you have any rock salt left over, also bring that up, because they're going to do some kind of weed kill with leftover rock salt. If you would like to donate it. Right now, we're, community day wise, we haven't, anything, I was waiting for the rec board, the park and rec board to get started up. And then we would talk about that, this time we kind of running late and plan something for probably summer, we would probably have to look to fall.
With the renovation of the field.
So the renovation of the field is definitely one of
Would you do it
our.
down the park down by the library?
Kennedy Park.
There's something there.
I was just looking, once we get the rec board and parks board approved, that would be one of the first things that we attack.
How do you know that they even do that?
They used to block that street off right in front of it for the art show. I remember
The
that.
other talk, if we do it down there, we could talk with, the library to
Don't
see
stage on the street.
if they would like to join in with us on it.
We should do that.
Where a lot of the help, anything that we may raise, hopefully we'll raise something, you know, it can go towards, maybe an extra donation to the library.
I'm sure that the library would want to participate and have a festival. I think, I wanted to do that.
I'll get in touch with Carol and see if she wants to
It's 20 years
join
since they
with
had
us,
one.
Carol Street.
Been that long.
Yeah.
Let's see if
1995.
we can,
Start planning in January.
if we can plan something with Carol, we'll look, see if we can do something in the fall. We're really too late for summer, though, I think.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we'll do that. The fire chief has a couple of announcements.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that number 4's annual spaghetti dinner is the second, May 2nd, up at St. Teresa's where it is every year. And also, longtime retired fire chief from West Hempstead, Dick Regan, passed away today.
Whoa.
Dick Regan?
Oh, really?
Supposedly still no one.
Joey Craft is
Saturday,
We
Sunday, buried
know
Monday.
his plans, chief? I mean,
Saturday, Sunday, buried Monday.
is that where's the,
It's a hospice. It's my sister-in-law's uncle. He's been battling cancer for about a year or so.
yeah, I mean, his age?
His son
He's
worked
80
for
years
us.
old.
for a
This,
while.
this is son was our former employee, Bill.
Yeah.
He's over the year.
Okay, with all the announcements in and the meeting scheduled, we got the kids next time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second from Mr. Foss, all those in favor?
I didn't do that.
Motion is unanimous.
Wait, Dave.
About the cars and the money, the backhoe.
I got another one today.
I was gonna vote on the $4,000.
I wasn't pointing my finger.
I took it stride.
It threw me off my train of thought, we didn't even have a motion and we voted for it.
I was gonna say, I'd rather vote for $4,000.
I'm on the, I'm on the.
I'm off, I spent the $4,000.
I'm fine, fun.
Pick up some things you don't want to pick up.
Yeah, wait, if they-